This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.
What is happening, you guys? Welcome back to the Let's Go Win podcast. I'm extremely excited today because this gentleman that I'm about to bring on, we have a lot in common. And this gentleman brings a ton of energy with over 10 years of organizational leadership and team development, leading thousands of people, plus a growing desire to learn it all. Kyle Sullivan hopes to inspire you to unlock the cages people are in to unleash the champ within. Kyle founded Unleash the Champ to create powerful coaching experiences for successful men and women in leadership and organizations, taking their personal and professional cultures from suck to soar. And with that, brother, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
I am doing fantastic, man. I need you in every intro I need. I love the energy of it. And man, I'm excited for this conversation today.
As am I, brother. And it makes it real easy to do my job when I have an exciting guy that's coming on. And I love how passionate you are about wanting to help other people. That's why you exist, is what I've picked up in this very short time getting to know you. But tell me, brother, so you're coming in from Oklahoma. Give me a little background. How did you get into what you're doing today?
Yeah, absolutely. So it unofficially started October 5th, 2019 at 12:47 a.m.
Okay.
is when I held my daughter, Miss Piper Grace Sullivan, for the very first time. You see, I was a pastor going into my 11th year at really large churches. And, you know, my wife had a C-section, got the baby, she's great. And then they said, okay, you can take her to the room. Your wife will be there in a moment. And my daughter's minutes old. And I make this agreement and I say, Piper, I'm going to give you presence of time, not just presence of things. And I'll be honest, I had no clue how that was going to happen. I loved being a pastor. I loved what I got to do. I loved the ministries that I got to be a part of, got to be on global stages. It was amazing. Then this thing we've all experienced and lived through called the pandemic happened. And I got really used to being at home. And I got really used to being able to fulfill that agreement in my head of giving presence of time. And so when our staff made a decision June of last year to come back to the office, I felt two words: it's time. And through conversation with my wife, 2 weeks later, I was done vocationally in ministry. And I had no real idea what I was going to do. I knew I liked to inspire people, and I had a lot of experience coaching people. We would just call it leading in ministry. And so I just set out on this journey, and Unleash the Champ was birthed. And CHAMP is an acronym that stands for your calling, your heart, your altitude, mindset, and performance. And when we unleash those, it creates that culture that goes from suck to soar.
Which are also acronyms, which we are absolutely going to get into. But I have to ask you, you used a specific word, agreement, and that seems to me that that's pretty intentional. Can you talk about that? Because that's not a word that is to be trifled with, in my opinion. And you hear agreement all the time. Yeah, we had a business agreement. We had this, but you mean that, I think, very specifically. Can you talk about that? And it's not necessarily on questions but I just have to ask because you're so intentional with that word.
Yeah, for me, the agreement was something that I intended to fulfill. And much like a business agreement or a relational agreement, whatever, that agreement for me was, I'm not sure how, but I plan to fulfill.
Got it. Now, one of the things, you clearly are a faith-based guy. Being a pastor, faith is a big thing. But you're taking this pretty significant leap of faith by saying, look, I have this really great gig. I'm speaking globally. I'm well known. And I'm just my agreement to my daughter, I want more time. I want to spend that. But you are taking a pretty significant, talk about the emotions that come with that. Was there fear? Was there anxiety? Or was it just, my faith is so strong, I know this is what I need to do, and I know this is going to be successful?
Absolutely not. I'm still 51% sure that this is going to work, but that's all I need. And I'll tell you what the tipping point was. My wife was working from home, so I texted her, "Hey, are you in a meeting?" She said no. I said, "Hey, come here for a second." And JM, I'm a rip the Band-Aid kind of cat. And so I said, I think I heard it and I attribute it to God and his prompting. I think God just told me to quit my job. And my wife's response was, "Oh." Now for the husbands out there, when your wife gets a couple octaves higher, choose your next words carefully. And she said, "What are you going to do?" Well, I have a couple friends locally here that do really well in the coaching consulting space, and they had been on me for years, probably 3 years at this point of, "Dude, you could do this, you could do that." And I'm like, nope, 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 nope. I'm good. I have a great career. I have a clear path. My preferred future is set before me, all of these things. But in that moment, that's what came to be. And so I told my wife, I think I want to give this coaching consulting thing a shot. And she got a smirk on her face and said, "You know, Kyle, I think you may be the last person to realize what you should be doing." Now that's significant in and of itself. But what's also significant is my wife. I love her, and this is why we're together. She's probably one of the most risk adverse people that I know, which is great for me because I will jump out of the plane, throw the parachute. If I catch it, put it on, we survive, great. If not, I'll heal. It's cool. But that was the moment. It's like, let's go. That's all I needed. That was the tipping point to 51, and we were off.
So obviously, champ, calling, we're talking about your calling at this point. Now, I got heart, I got attitude. You went kind of quick on the last two, so I want to get those.
Yeah, so it's calling, heart, altitude,
excuse me,
mindset, and performance.
Awesome. I love this. So this is the calling, and your heart, whether it's yours and or your partner in life, is saying, "Hey, dummy," or she probably didn't say that, that'd be nicely, but yeah, of course, this is what you should be doing. Everyone knows this is what you should be doing. It just took you a moment. So talk about this calling, because whether it's faith-based, whether it's tapping into the energy of the world, whatever your thing is, and everybody has their different, there is intuition. There's something there that's speaking to us all. But how do we quiet our minds, brother? How do we get to that point to say, okay, now yours was the birth of a daughter. We can't all just be popping out kids all the time to have these moments. Thank goodness for you. That's what happened. But talk to me about really tapping into that and finding that, because I can see the smile on your face, brother. And 51% is going to be more than enough because of your energy, your enthusiasm. But talk to me about that calling. How do people really get into that? Because everybody wants to feel what you're feeling right now.
Yeah, I think a big piece of me in this next assignment within my calling was, what was I already doing great? What were the things that people came to me for? Like when my friends called me, what was I helping them with? And that was the writing on the wall. Now, in hindsight, I can see how these moments, these assignments within my calling has all led to this place. Because when we're sitting here going, I want more. I know there's more in me. I know there's more. Okay, take the next right step. What's something that interests you? What's something that people maybe even say, "Hey, you should try this thing," even if it doesn't make sense. Me leaving 11 years in vocational ministry as a pastor, leading at a high level, to start a business in the middle of the pandemic, when I have no track record doing this in the marketplace, doesn't make sense. But success leaves clues, and success prepares us for the next version, the next assignment within our calling. And so for the listeners going, okay, I want more. What is the thing you're already doing that you could do more of? What's something that interests you that maybe you've not entertained? And then what are the things that people say, you should really try this thing? Because it may not be the thing forever, but it may be the thing for right now that gets you in a skill set, gets you in front of people, gets you in front of the right mentors or the right rooms that say, okay, this is what you learned here for this now.
Yeah, and so you got the calling, and what I'm trying to get to is for the listeners, really, they've jumped out the plane. So we're going to use your analogy of jumping out the plane, and forgot to put the parachute on. We're swimming down, and this is the part that I think freaks people out, and I can't wait to get your take on this. But as you're going down, trying to grab that parachute to throw it on so we land safely, that's the anxiety part. That's the fears. That's the self-limiting beliefs that are taking place. How do you address those, brother? How do you continue to have that enthusiasm? How do people find that? What would you say to those people that have made that jump as they're looking for that parachute? Everything's going to be okay. And here's some steps while you're falling.
Yeah. One, it's going to be lonely. And I'm going to just let that sit with the listeners right now that think we're going to step out in faith. It's going to be amazing. And it's going to be, yes, but it's also going to be lonely. And this season of my life has been the most fun, the most frustrating, the most failure I've had, because you go and willingly put yourself in an environment that you've never been in before. And though you've had success prior, you don't have success now. And you have to connect yourself. Simon Sinek, I think famously, was like, find your why. Start with why. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you contemplating a move? Why are you contemplating this jump before you even get into the air? And then that's the thing you have to remind yourself. And then you got to get really clear on what do you want. For me, it was presence of time, not presence of things. For others, it may be, I want to go travel and I want to create a lifestyle around traveling and seeing new cultures and doing this thing. Or others, it may be, I want to go and, I want to learn cooking because I want to be a chef. Whatever it is, you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? What do I want? And then here's where it gets sticky. You got to ask yourself, who do I have to become to achieve those things? And then here's the crux of it. You have to ask yourself, am I committed to seeing it through?
And in those dark moments, in those quiet moments, and if I cut you off, brother, I didn't mean to, but that's when we're saying, there's something, who do I need to become? That's where it's like, okay, maybe I don't have those skills, but that's where it is. And maybe I'll let you finish that up before I get into my next bit of questions. But is that the answer that comes back to say, look, maybe I don't have those skills today, but I can.
Right. And it just has to, like, for me, the Unleash the Champ was so tied to me, and why I'm doing this is because I believe that there's a champion in everybody. But I also believe that so many people don't even look to the sky to see the plane they could jump out of, because they've willingly walked into cages that keep them trapped. And so for me, I want to rattle, shake, and unlock the cage that says, hey, why don't we start dreaming again? I have a 2-year-old daughter. I can ask her, Piper Grace, what do you want? She will tell me everything under the sun and has no doubt in her mind that I can provide it for her. We forget that as adults.
Yeah, I hate that part of our journeys. I really do, because somewhere the 5-year-old, the 8-year-old, it gets lost, and then responsibilities and whatever takes over. It's you and I are all 100% on the same path with that. I have to ask, at the end of the intro, it says personal and professional cultures. Now, I love this because I'm all about cultures. So I want to talk about that, but S.U.C to S.O.A.R. Give me those acronyms, brother, because there's so much going on here. I love not only professional culture, because that has obviously been talked about. That's a thing. But you said personal, and I really can't wait to dive into that. So tell me the S.U.C to S.O.A.R.
Yeah. So first, before we get into that, let's identify what culture is.
Okay.
So my definition of culture is what you teach others, what you tell yourself, and what you tolerate in your world. And so culture is made up of what you teach, what you tell, and what you tolerate. So to identify, okay, where is my professional or personal culture? You go, okay, is it in S.U.C or S.O.A.R? S.U.C means that it is subpar, underutilized, confusing killers of your momentum, your impact, your income, and your significance. When you shift to S.O.A.R, you're successful, you're optimized, you're attractive, and you can respond to the champion that you were created to be.
That's good, man. I mean, I'm a huge fan of acronyms because, and I'm looking for my question while I'm soaking that in. Talk to me why, especially when you say the underutilized, because I think this is probably, well, actually, I would say professionally, but I personally, most families don't even have a culture, or they're not intentional with that culture. Talk to me about how you set that up, because I have our cultural values of our family on our wall to remind us every single darn day what we represent. Is that part of making sure that it's optimized and not underutilized? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, 100%. Most of the time, you are miles ahead of most that actually have defined values for your family and for yourself. But oftentimes those are on our walls or our handbooks, not our hearts. And so that's what I mean by underutilized, is you may establish what those are, but are you the CRO of your personal culture, the chief reminding officer? Is it on front of mind or back of mind? That matters. And so when you're underutilized, it's going, man, you get stuck in the prison of potential. Oh, you got so much potential. You got so much promise. You got cool. That doesn't actually get you anywhere closer if you don't put your potential in action. If you don't actually get it optimized to go, okay, hey, here's what the best I know right now. Here's where I'm going. Here's what I'm doing. When I know better, I'll do better. But for now, I'm going forward. You have to be willing. You have to be willing to identify where you are in the S.U.C category if you ever want to soar.
So let's talk about being the crow, because I'm with this and I want it to be on our listeners' hearts. How do you do that, man? Is this a nightly thing? Is this a daily thing? I know in business, I coach that every single meeting, that's how you start your meetings, are with that. Is that a similar idea that you're doing? Or just tell me more about being crow, because I think so often, well, we wrote it down, we put it on a wall, everybody should know it. That's not the way this works, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it's not enough, because what isn't constantly in front of us, we will forget. It's why we take years of schooling, and analogy I always use is, man, I took 3 years of Spanish in high school and I can say about 2 sentences. And so I took it, I did it, I got good grades, but you drop me in a Spanish only environment, I'm not going to get very far. In one season, I would have, because it was important. But now it's not as important. And so if it's not consistently in front of us, and I think as men, as leaders of the home, like, it's our responsibility to reinforce the values. And when things are out of alignment, much like in business, we have to bring it back in, because vision leaks and culture drifts, so realign often.
Vision leaks and culture drifts. I love that. I want to shift a little bit, because you talk about the importance of being selfish. Now, coming from a servant leadership role of being a pastor, everybody pause, hit the brakes, because what? But I'm really curious. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. What is the importance of being selfish? What does that mean, brother?
Oh, man. So let's go back in time to 2018. I'm I'm climbing the leadership ranks within my organization, ministry I worked for. And I'm at home one night, it's before we have kids. And I remember the meal. My wife had cooked spaghetti. We're sitting at the table. I'm, drinking my water, eating spaghetti. We're having conversation like we do. And out of the blue, to me, she says, I want you to know I feel like we're roommates. Cool. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, I just feel like we're just passing. We're not really connecting. And like, it just, we're getting to that stage in our marriage where we're starting to talk about kids. And she said, I'm not excited to have kids yet because I feel like I'd be a single parent in a marriage. Talk about a gut punch. I had all this professional success, all these attaboys, all this doing for others, but I didn't even do it in my home, and I didn't do it for myself. And so what transpired over those months was this understanding that if I'm going to do anything well outside of the home, I have to take care of my home. And every year I set an intention and I pick a word that I'm going to focus on. And so for 2018, the word was influence. And I'll be honest, I got really excited when I felt that be my word. And what it was is I felt I needed to influence 3,500 more than 890. So 3,500 is the number addressed to my home. 890 was the number address that started the church. And so I had to get back to taking care of me so I could take care of my family and then take care of what I was doing professionally. So I started going to counseling. And I started to uncover and unravel and break down so I could build back up. And that's what it came from, is if I'm not taking time for myself, if I'm not growing as a person, if I'm not getting in environments that they're going to call me on my crap and tell me where I'm missing the mark, I am absolutely useless for my family or for what I do professionally. Now, I had a ton of success, but I was failing in what mattered most, and I was taking care of me and taking care of the people that are closest to me.
Well, kudos to your wife for calling it out. This spaghetti meal, I'm guessing, was on a Tuesday for some reason. I'm just feeling like it was a Tuesday, but also for you to give her the permission to be that radically honest with you, to say, gosh, the love of my life, you're okay roommate. Not even a great one. You're just an okay roommate.
Right.
All right. So I love Unleash the Champ, rattling the cages. Immediately I'm thinking, man, he definitely had to fight UFC. You're a big dude, or definitely MMA. But let's talk about you. You have this theme of making a championship run. And what does that mean, brother? What exactly are you talking about? Again, I have an idea in my head of what that looks like. I'm curious to see what that means to you and your company.
Yeah. So the championship run is the preferred future you have. So for me, everything is around a sports language. And so think about it, at the beginning of any season, any team, any level, they have goals. They have where they'd like to be at the end of their season. And so that's called your championship run. Like, that's okay, here's where I want to go. What I need to do to get there, and what are the things that we have to do as a team and what I have to do as an individual to get there. So when I say championship run, it is with the end in mind, and then we work back from there.
Got it. And why is the sports analogy so important to you? I'm guessing you grew up an athlete. I'm guessing it applying these analogies. For me, it works fantastic because let's go win. I mean, me too, man. I'm in. But is it a background in athletics? Is that where this started, or?
100%. So, I mean, I started playing T-ball at 5. I was never the boy into cars and trucks and tractors and things like that. It was, give me a football, give me a baseball. That's like, I was the kid, I was the only child, and I'm the kid out in the backyard throwing it and catching it myself. And so sports played a huge piece of my development. And I can think back to countless coaches that really developed me as, a child, preteen, teenager, and even in college, where I went from baseball, football to football and powerlifting. And then I even was a cheerleader in college. And all of those coaches meant so much to me. And so it just makes the most sense for me.
Yeah, no, I obviously coaching. I think the analogy is fantastic. Talk to me about, so the future, the preferred future that you have, and you've talked about seasons. You've said that several times. Now, so you do the reverse engineering to make that championship run. You're like, okay, I want to go. So sports analogy, the Super Bowl, what do we have to do? Boom, 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 boom. So talk to me about how you coach people up to say, all right, your biggest like goals and dreams, let's go get it and work our way back. How does one tangibly do that, brother? Because again, that seems such a big idea, but that's the only way they're going to be able to get there, right?
100%. The things that I see Unleash the Champ becoming make me want to vomit. And that's where we have to get to. And so for me, it goes back to those questions in the beginning of our conversation. Why are you doing this? What do you want? What do you want? Not what do you think others say you should want? What do you, if you could, and it's hard because you got to get people comfortable enough and vulnerable enough to say what they want. And then you can start building from there. Then you're able to go, okay, if this is what you want, who do you have to become to get it? How committed to you are you? And then it starts to roll. That's the first step in the businesses I work with or the individuals is, what do you want? Who do you want to be known for? How do you want to be perceived in the world? Again, it's that teach, tell, tolerate. What are those things? And so that is how you get people to start to dream again. That's how you get people to say, you know what? I do want this amount of revenue. Hey, you know what? I do want this to be what our company is known for. I personally want to be known for blank. But you gotta shake people's cages of perception and what others have said and what they've been conditioned to believe. But they gotta be willing to take that journey. Well, if they are,
yeah, sorry,
go ahead. Get them there.
Yeah, one of the things you said that I want people to hear this so much. You said it makes me want to vomit, and what I took from that is like that's the amount of work, sacrifice. Dreams sound like, oh, I'm sleeping and I'm dreaming. No, dude, like to get to that dream, whether Kobe Bryant comes to mind immediately. Like he talked about the Mamba mentality and really making sure the work was put in to go obtain those dreams. That's what I hear. It's like, why do people? It's not all glorious and awesome. The work is how you get there. But just know that going in, and you said it, I can't wait. I want to go vomit. That's what's going to happen.
100%. For me, the gift is in the grind. The prize is in the process. And so I'm not winning when I achieve the things that are written that only me and me have seen. Because here's another piece of this. When you start dreaming at this level, there's a difference between the reveal and the release. And so there's some things that I have felt, okay, it's revealed to me of what I could see this becoming, but it's not to be released yet. And so it's lonely. Like we said earlier, it's fun, it's frustrating, but you gotta be willing to say, you know what, this is strong enough. I am passionate enough about this, and I'm going to be willing one of my pastors used to say, I'll be willing to be called crazy in one season to be called faithful in another.
Well, one of the things I'm picking up, man, you are a wordsmith, and I don't know if that's your background in being a pastor, but the gift is in the grind. The prize is in the like I'm feverishly writing these down because I'm like, that's really good. And it's like, it's coming off top of your head. Maybe that's just something, the gift of gab from so many speeches in that world. But brother, you're truly gifted in that regard. Before I leave some of these keys and characteristics of truly successful, what are some of those that you see the truly successful people that, whether it's success is such a subjective word, but succeeding in obtaining their dreams, succeeding in finding their purpose, their passion. What are some of those key characteristics that you're seeing when you're working with clients?
I think the biggest thing outside of clarity, which is we've talked about at length, it's grit. Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan till they get hit in the mouth. Now, I've added, not that the champ needs anything added to his famous quote, but I've added a little bit to it. Everybody has a plan till they get hit in the mouth, so start liking the taste of your own blood. So for me, I think back to every movie that has a fight scene, and there's this moment where the guy gets hit and he wipes his fingers across his lips and he looks at the blood on his hands. There's a decision to be made. Am I going to fight or am I going to freeze? And it's this moment where we have to get okay with the look, smell, and taste of our own blood. Because I like to tell myself, I moved out of my house, graduated high school, moved out at 19. I never missed a payment on anything till I started a business. I've never had more peaks and valleys than I did starting a business. I've never been told no more than starting a business. But I wouldn't have traded anything for this. For the foreseeable future, until I feel otherwise, this is the thing.
You know, it's so interesting that you brought up Tyson with that quote, because talk about somebody that's been to the pinnacle, the very top, and then got hit in the mouth, been near, got knocked out. I mean, we're talking to the lowest of lows, how he's reinvented himself. And you clearly are a fan, and Mike Tyson doesn't come up on the show very often. Is that just remarkable to you to see he's inspiring people in such a different way now? What are your thoughts on it, brother? Because I can watch and listen to him. He has turned into this sage, and it's because of his vulnerability. It's because he is, I think, surrendered to the fact that this is actually his path. It wasn't being the heavyweight champ. That was his platform to get well known. What are your thoughts on that, brother?
100%. And that's in my passion, is to be a proud learn it all. And I think that's what Tyson has done. I think that's what others have evolved over time and continue to make an impact. It's not that he didn't make an impact as a heavyweight champion. He's just making a different impact now. And it's the ones that are humble enough to say, I don't know it all, hungry enough to go figure it out, and they're willing to hustle enough to take the next right step, the next right step, the next right step, the next opportunity, the next opportunity. And that's the thing that's inspiring, is when you have people who have shown consistent grit. It's that consistent behavior over time in the right direction always yields results. Always. Now, consistent behavior in the wrong direction also leads to results. But when we're making that choice every single day, hey, you know what? I'm going to do the best that I know how. I'm going to do better when I know better. But for now, I'm moving forward. That's the thing. That's the crux of it all, is to be willing to get up off the mat. It's be willing to get under center again. It's willing to run out on the court again. It's willing to take the shot again. It's those things that said, like, you can't lose if you don't quit.
Yeah, it's again, he's such a polarizing figure, and what's so fascinating talking to your background, so many people would have to forgive some of the things that he had done or not done, but he went to jail for things, right? But this man has literally shifted. He's changed. I don't mean to make the whole thing, but it's just, gosh, you took me down this path, and I just see this man who is shaping, and he's been knocked down and again, bankrupt and lost everything and reinvented, and he's helping so many. So talk to me about Learn It All, because I'm a professional learner for the rest of my life. I know I can never get enough. So talk to me about that journey for you, because I love that you say my desire is to learn it all. Well, there's a lot to learn, man. So tell me your process. What are you doing?
Yeah. You know, I'm genuinely curious about things. And I think curiosity is another trait of truly successful people, is that I'm not trying to be great at everything, but I want to know a little bit about it all. And that's where the learn it all comes in. And honestly, I've realized this about 3 years ago, that this has been a trait of mine from the very beginning. My mom passed away about 3 years ago, and she kept my kindergarten composition book. Has all your, your grades and your conduct and everything like that. And I just started flipping through it, and we're starting to talk about having kids. And so I as we were entering that season of our marriage, I get more curious about how was I as a kid. And so I'm flipping through this book, and here was the thing that I realized, I always had this desire to learn. So we had a goal to read 20 books as a kindergartner. It's a pretty substantial goal. We had to write down what the books were, and our parents had to sign off on it. So in the course of my kindergarten year, I read 144 books. And I just started laughing when I saw that, because it had the first page that was printed off, taped into the book, very nice. And then it was just page after page after page of my mom or my dad's handwriting, just writing in these books in the margins of the sheet. And I realized I've always had a desire to learn. I've always had a desire to glean information from people. And again, success leaves clues. What do I do now? I ask a ton of questions. And the thing that got me in trouble as a kid is now the thing that I get to have more impact with than ever before. And so I find things, and my wife, I think it exhausts her sometimes, because I'm like, have you ever thought about how blah, 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 blah? And she's like, no, I haven't. And I'm like, I just wonder, and so I will set time. And this is important for us extremely curious people. I set time in my week that I go back to my notebook, and it's just how do they develop book covers, or what is the process to stream Netflix, or whatever it is. There's a couple things I've thought about, and I'll just Google them, and I'll just read a little bit. And I'm like that random fat guy, oh, hey, did you know that blah, 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 blah? And they're like, cool, Kyle. But for me, it excites me when I'm able to just constantly expose myself to new information, to new ways of thinking, to be extremely curious, and to be genuinely concerned with what others have gone through, the lessons they've learned, and how I can apply it to my life.
Well, I'm laughing because our spouses can go to a Curiosities, club.
Curiosity Anonymous.
Yeah, for sure. They're like, no, dude, I don't care. I'm just trying to enjoy my show right now. Not trying to answer these questions. Brother, I just want to give you kind of an open forum here. Anything I didn't ask you that you're like, dang it, you should have asked me this. You should have known enough to ask. What would you like to leave the audience with that you just hadn't had a chance to yet?
I love this question because I'm going to share the biggest lesson that I've learned in the last 18 months. And it's this: the peace that we desire follows our obedience and our action. It doesn't precede it. Now, what I mean by that is there's probably listeners. We've talked a lot about calling. We've talked a lot about learning. We've talked a lot about championship runs and your personal culture. There's something stirring in you right now. But until you're obedient to take action on that, you're going to stay in this mental ping pong game. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? And all we want with a decision is the peace that we made the right one. And so understand this, that the peace follows action. It never precedes it. So take action with the knowledge you know. Be okay if it falls flat. You'll learn from it, but keep moving forward and you'll get the peace you desire.
Can't put any better than that, guys. I mean, I told you he's a wordsmith. Literally, I wrote it down, and I got a bunch of good stuff. I can't wait to talk to you off air because I can't believe it's already been this. I mean, it's 45 minutes. It's like flew by, brother. I want our audience to get a chance to connect with you. Where is the best place that they connect with you online?
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram. So at Kyle J. Sullivan. You can send me a message, just say, let's go win. So I know it came from here. You can email me directly, kyle@kylejsullivan.com. Either of those. I'd love to hear your story. I'm curious about you and your journey, your championship run. I'd love to hear it.
Guys, he gave you his personal email address. Take advantage. The man has a plethora of knowledge. I'm looking at his books. I didn't even get a chance to dive into those, but absolutely reach out. Go follow the guy. He is helping people achieve things that they don't think they can. It's remarkable, brother. So great job. Keep up the amazing work. And thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Truly, it was my pleasure. And guys, I hope you got as much as I did, which is a page full of notes, and I can't wait to go review it. And, everything he talked about, this goes back to how I love to sign off, and that is your mindset matters. Make sure you choose wisely. And this was a wise choice. Listen to Kyle, man. This guy is amazing. So until next time, you guys continue to transcend in life, and we'll talk to you then. Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.